Story time about how I got my manager fired because I didn't like him. Yeah, this might make me a terrible person, but a girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. I started working as a wedding planner in a company about 6 months ago. And yes, I've always been very ambitious, but I definitely took it too far this time. In the company, there were other wedding planners as well, and we were all managed by the same person. Let's call him Tom. Tom was an okay manager, but here's the thing. When I met him, I hated him right away. He was lazy and incompetent, and I knew that I could do his job 10 times better. Then I hated him even more when I found out how much money he earned. He was making over $200,000 a year. After a week of working there, I realized what he was doing. He would tell all of the wedding planners to do things throughout the day that added up to being his actual job. But none of us realized it because he was telling all of us individually without the others knowing. But I'm really observant and I realized it right away. I started watching him all the time. He would come into the office really late, would make himself coffee, and practically eat an entire box of cereal at his desk. Once he was finished with that, he would email us our tasks for the day, which was the stuff that he needed to do. Then he would play video games for 5 hours. Part two of how I got my manager fired because I didn't like him. Does this make me evil? Yes. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. When I realized he was palming off all his work on the other people, I decided to start documenting all of his laziness. So like I said in part 1, he would spend his morning eating an entire box of cereal. Then he would send emails out telling us what to do for the day, which was everything he had to do for the day. Then for about 5 hours, he would play video games on his laptop. And how did I know this? Every 15 minutes or so, he would go get a snack. So I would run into his office and take a picture of his laptop. He didn't even bother to fake it. You might wonder why no one else noticed. My desk was the closest one to his office. Also, our boss worked remotely and would only come into the office about once a week. And when she would come into the office, he would act completely different. So after documenting all of his activities for about a month, I decided to go to the boss and show her everything. I kept every single text message he ever sent me of him asking me to do something for him. I had all the emails he'd ever sent us. I had videos of him eating a full box of cereal at his desk for about 2 hours. And I had all the pictures I took of his laptop while he was playing video games. And all of it was time-stamped. I asked my boss if we could jump on a call and she said yes. By the way, my boss is amazing. She's a total boss lady and doesn't take crap from anyone, so I knew that she would fire him right away. When we got on the phone, I asked her to check her email and she looked at all the evidence. Then she told me, wow, I'm actually not surprised. I told her that if she gave me the job, I would be extremely productive and get us more clients. She thanked me and called the manager right away. And guess what? The following day, he was not there. My boss called me and thanked me for being honest with her. Part 3 is up. Story time about how I got my manager fired because I didn't like him. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. When I finally got my manager fired the next day, my boss called me and thanked me for giving her all the evidence. But I didn't stop there. I asked her if she could consider me for his job and she told me that she would think about it. So I took it a step further. Emailed her the list of new clients that I had brought in and it did the trick. She emailed me back saying that she would give me a chance. That meant that I was now going to get $200,000 a year and that I didn't have to deal with bridezillas anymore. Since I became manager, I've doubled our client list and increased revenue by 12%. I also convinced my boss to give everyone a bonus. I even redecorated the entire office, making it more functional, and everybody loves the new space. I also got myself a fancy 2-bedroom apartment, which has a pool and a sauna, a doorman, and I get massages every single week. And I got myself a very new nice car. I'm currently planning a girls trip for me and my friends to go to Greece. I would have never been able to do all of this had I not gotten that job. So if you're wondering if I feel guilty about getting my manager fired, no, I don't. There's nothing more disgusting than a lazy man. I did check his Instagram after sending. I started complaining about how I don't pay any attention to him anymore. I started doing my best to try to give him more affection and just more time with me, but it's so hard with the kids. My husband does help me with the kids, but he works a lot and goes to the gym a lot. So when he's not home, it's basically my responsibility to do everything for the kids. They never tell you how hard it is to have kids and how hard it is to look after yourself and your relationship. I suggested we have date nights, but we still haven't gone on any. I told him that we should just go to the beach and hang out on our own, but he kept making up excuses. A month ago, he asked me if I would ever consider having a 3-person sexy time. I hope you understand what I mean. I told him I wouldn't be comfortable with that and he said okay. A few days after that, he asked me again. This time I probed and asked him why he was saying that. That's when he confessed that the only way he can stay faithful is by inviting someone else into our bedroom. I was really heartbroken. I never expected him to say anything like that to me, so I just started to cry. Then he got angry because I started to cry and told me that he needs to have more fun in this relationship. I asked him if he had already cheated on me and he swore that he didn't. The kids were in the other bedroom, so I didn't want to start another argument. I let it go, but I couldn't stop thinking about what he had told me. That's when I got scared that he might actually cheat on me. I started becoming really insecure and he hated this. I started asking him almost on a daily basis if he had cheated on me. He kept denying it, so I believed him. A few days later, we got into a fight about the kids. Out of nowhere, he starts threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time. This time, he wouldn't let it go. He told me he would find somebody to cheat on me with, but for me not to worry because it wouldn't mean anything to him. He was basically asking me for permission to have an affair. I felt hopeless, so I finally accepted his offer. That's when he got really excited and started showing me pictures of girls at the gym. He told me he'd been talking to a few already and that he could get one of the girls to come to our house that very same week. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my husband is threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time. Disclaimer, this is not a story time. Send me on Instagram. That's when he told me that he could have a girl come to our house this week. Felt like I had no choice but to accept because I didn't want him to cheat on me. Later that night, I asked him who he'd been talking to at the gym. He told me there were several girls at the gym that would flirt with him every single time, and that one of them had offered to come to our house. I couldn't get it out of my head that he had probably already cheated on me with one of these girls. I mean, why try to involve me when he could do it on his own with them? A few days later, he told me there was a girl that was willing to come over to our house on Friday. That's when my husband asked me to go get waxed and to go to the salon and do something to my hair. So I went to get waxed and got highlights at the salon. I won't lie, I actually felt really good after this. When my husband saw me later that night, he said I looked amazing. One thing about me, I've always been pretty athletic. And since having kids, my body has snapped back. I'm not very self-conscious about my body, but the thought of having someone else in our bedroom just made me feel gross. She finally arrived and I was expecting a young hot thing. This woman was in her 40s. She was 12 years older than me, and she was not in very good shape. By the way, we left the kids with a babysitter, so don't worry. We all went up to the bedroom and my husband poured us glasses of wine. That's when my husband kissed the woman. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my husband is threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time, if you know what I mean. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. The 3 of us were finally up in the bedroom. My husband leaned in to kiss her and they were making out for about 30 seconds. Right in front of me like I didn't even exist. That's when it hit me and I realized what we were about to do. I was in my own house, in my own bedroom with a random woman who was older than me, and no offense, I thought I was definitely more attractive. Finally, when they stopped kissing, I tell my husband I can't do this. That's when he gets really angry, grabs me by the arm and takes me into the hallway. He tells me if I don't do this, then I should just leave the house because he's still gonna do it with her, and that from now on he would be able to do whatever he wanted because I wasn't willing to cooperate. Thankfully, the woman came out of the bedroom and told my husband that it wasn't worth it if we were going to be arguing. He begged her not to leave. It was pathetic, but of course she left anyway. That's when he grabs his things and tells me he's going to the gym. Cried for 3 hours and went to pick up the kids. When my husband got home, he apologized and told me that he probably overreacted. Probably? Then he starts begging me to please reconsider doing it again with the same woman. That's when I asked him if he had a thing for older women. I told him that I was much more attractive and younger than this other woman, so why did he want her? Then he confessed that his thing is older women. Then he asked me what was the oldest I would be willing to go. I told him I didn't know if I even wanted to do it with someone else. That's when he started threatening again. He said he'd go do it either way and that I would just have to deal with it. That's when I told him that maybe we should just consider getting a divorce. He got so angry he smashed a glass on the countertop. After I let him calm down, I asked him if he'd already been having an affair with that woman. He keeps denying it, but something's telling me he already did it. Told me he wouldn't give me the divorce because he loves me, but he's also saying he's gonna cheat on me. I'm seriously considering inviting the woman back over just to please my husband. I know that's just gonna lead to bad things. I asked my best friend and she told me to just go through with it, and that if I have to save my marriage by having other people in my bed, then I should just do it. But I just can't bring myself to saying yes. I told my mom and she told me to get a divorce no matter what. She guarantees that he's already cheated. Should I say yes or should I leave him?
For some weird reason, my mother-in-law really wants to go into our bedroom whenever she comes over. On one occasion, I followed her as she went upstairs. I was going to get something for my child as the bedrooms are upstairs, and she walked past the bedroom on the main floor and up the stairs behind it. She didn't hear me and I caught her walking straight into my room and rifling through bills on my dresser. She denied snooping, even though I had just watched her do it, and she said she was just going to use our bathroom because she couldn't find the other ones. She walked right past the one on the main floor and the other one in the upstairs hallway to go into our bedroom. Since that happened, I installed an exterior doorknob that requires a key on our bedroom door and one to the door to our office and spare bedroom. However, she's still always forgetting where the bathroom is and trying the bedroom and office door. This really ticks me off. My husband says that I just get annoyed at this because everything she does drives me crazy, and since we've put locks on the rooms we don't want her in, there really isn't a problem anymore. Well, over the holidays we had my in-laws over for dinner, and before they came I was searching for the bedroom keys. We hadn't used them in a while since we only lock the doors when my mother-in-law comes over. My husband told me that we didn't need to lock the doors since she wouldn't try to get into the rooms, and I insisted that she would because she loves to snoop. We went back and forth and decided to cover the doorknobs in super fine glitter to see if she'd try them. I did this once before, but my husband didn't believe me about that snooping to prove that she'd been in the rooms. Last time she ignored the glitter and we didn't say anything about it, but then my husband couldn't deny that she tried to snoop. So this time I covered the knobs in glitter, and for the office went a touch further and rigged a little folder of glitter over the door to the office before the in-laws came over. I left it one side unlocked, French doors, and it was set so if you walked into the room you would get covered in glitter. My husband goes out of his way to show his mom the main floor bathroom when they got here, and specifically ask his parents and sister not to go upstairs. There's a baby gate so the kids can't get upstairs either. Well, guess who had to go to the bathroom and got covered in glitter and had it all over their hands and hair? She completely lost it and started screaming at me, so I yelled back, and now my husband is saying I went too far and that I'm an asshole. My mother-in-law also says that I'm an asshole, but my sister-in-law says I didn't do anything wrong and my mother-in-law deserved it for snooping. My father-in-law is Switzerland. Apparently her car is ruined now too because it's covered in glitter that she can't get cleaned up. Am I the asshole for setting a glitter trap to catch my mother-in-law trying to snoop? We hired a housekeeper that comes over several times a week to get the house clean since my husband and I are busy with work. We have 2 kids, Jeremy 16 and Raya 14. Now Jeremy's a jokester. He likes pulling pranks on everyone in the house, and that included the housekeeper. He did stuff like throw her purse and had her wallet, and he got punished for it and told not to do again because our housekeeper almost quit and we didn't want that. A few days ago, I got a call from Jeremy while he was having friends over to tell me that he saw the housekeeper sneak one of my jewelry into her purse and asked me to come home immediately. I freaked out and tried to call my husband, but he didn't pick up. I went home and I was mad, and I talked to the housekeeper and she denied putting anything in her purse. That's when I demanded to see her purse, and my jewelry was in fact there. The housekeeper started swearing on her children that she didn't put it in there and that she had no idea how it got in there. I believed her and figured that Jeremy had something to do with it given his history. I switched my attention towards him and had him explain to me exactly how he saw our housekeeper do it. He told me what he saw, but a friend of his came forward and said that he saw Jeremy put the jewelry inside the lady's purse and was trying to get her in trouble. Jeremy yelled at his friend and then told me it was just one of his pranks, but I was furious. I kicked the rest of his friends who covered for him out, and I punished him hard and apologized to the housekeeper. However, my husband reacted unexpectedly after he heard and said that I was wrong for choosing to believe the housekeeper over our son even though there was a witness, but he said his friend must have said this to get him in trouble or because the housekeeper paid him to side with her, which was shockingly absurd of him to say. He said I wasn't being a good mother, and my first instinct is to always believe my son in whatever he says and never question him in front of his friends like that. I'm honestly so confused. Did I mess up? Am I the asshole for believing my housekeeper over my son?
Am I wrong for telling my girlfriend to cover up her body when strangers enter the home? Oh, you are treading on thin ice, my friend. Here we go. I am This is the first sentence. I am fully aware that the title sounds sexist, but hear me out, please. My girlfriend comes from a wealthy background and grew up with maids, chefs, chauffeurs, etc. I was raised in a completely opposite environment and still adjusting to dating someone like her. When we're not with her parents, we spend a lot of time at one of her apartments. Here's the issue. My girlfriend likes to walk around home barely wearing anything, which is fine, awesome even, but she does this even when the help are around. For example, last month, her family hired a new driver for her. He stopped by the apartment to introduce himself, and she was only wearing her underwear. Keep in mind, this is the first time they've ever met in person. I felt awkward, he was visibly awkward, and she didn't give a shit at all. She was casually chatting to him while scrolling away on her phone. She does this all the time. She doesn't think she needs to wear any decent amount of clothes at all when people that work for her are around. She will casually walk around wearing just a thong or a tiny crop top. Just a crop top, nothing else. Okay, see, you saved yourself. The title was a little fishy, but now I hear, I understand your concern. She even does this with complete strangers. One time, she opened the door for the delivery guy wearing only a see-through gown. You could see everything. Afterwards, I talked to her about it, and she was utterly confused as to why I felt uncomfortable. Then she laughed and told me to stop being jealous, baby. She even said that I'm unreasonable. We had another discussion about this yesterday, and I told her that she probably wouldn't feel comfortable if I did the same. She said that she doesn't understand why I care what her staff think and that it never even crossed her mind that this is inappropriate. She told me that she only does this in the comfort of her home and not in front of actual people. An example, people that don't work for her. She got kind of mad at me and vented to her friends. According to all of them, I'm weird for having a problem with this, and I'm an asshole for telling my girlfriend to cover up. Somehow, I'm the villain of the story. So, am I really the asshole here?